hope you're all here for a bit of PM, a bit of relevant costing. And without further ado, off we jolly well go. So, relevant costs. Basically, the idea is that they've got to be in the future. They've got to be incremental, i.e. more or less, and they've got to be cash flows. So what they're not, if they're future, that means then you can ignore any sunk costs, any costs that have happened in the past. Incremental, so you can include even cost savings, doesn't just have to be more sales, so even cost savings would go in there. And obviously cash means not accounting, so you'd ignore things like depreciation or allocation of overheads or something like that. Okay, so that's the stuff that we already know. How about this though? Here's a great way of putting those three together. Will the cash or bank balance change going forwards because of this item? If it will, it's a relevant cost. If it won't, it's not a relevant cost. I'm going to get you to do some work today as well. So we're going exam standard. So, Cow Company spent $10,000 last month on market research for a new product. We're deciding whether to take on this new product or not. So is that a relevant cost? Will the cash or bank balance change going forwards because we spent $10,000 last month? The answer is no. That's a sunk cost, isn't it? What about these? Launching a product requires new equipment for $35,000. Well, that's a future cost. It's incremental, it's cash, and incurs variable production costs of $15,000. That's a future incremental cash flow. That'll change my bank balance. So I've got $50,000 I'm going to spend out. But luckily, the examiner also tells me I'm going to get sales revenue of 70. So 70 less 50. Should I take on this project according to relevant costing? The answer, my friends, is yes, I should, because I'm making more money. All right, but you ignore the 10,000 on market research. Nice, simple, straightforward. Hope you agree. Okay. They're not always going to be that easy. Now, once to do this, which you'll see in the textbooks and other people's course materials, I actually don't like working it out like this, but I can see its validity. Is the item in stock? If the answer is it's not in stock, then what you've got to go and do is buy more. And so therefore, the relevant cost of that item that you're looking for is its replacement cost, its current cost. But of course, you might already have that item in stock. What is its relevant cost then? Well, pleased you asked. It all depends on whether you use it regularly. If you don't use it regularly, then all you're going to do is scrap that stock maybe. So by using it, you're going to lose the scrap value. So the losing of the scrap value becomes the relevant cost. The reason why I don't like this is because it's hard, isn't it? It's a bit airy-fairy, a bit hard to see. We're going to do some good old numbers in a minute. And of course, you could be using it regularly. Well, in which case then you need it. So you're going to have to buy more because you're using them all up regularly, even though they are in stock. And so the relevant cost is replacement cost. We're only looking at materials in this lunchtime live, by the way. Okay, here's a little question for you then. Cow needs 50 kilograms of material B, and there's 80 kilograms in stock, which costs $10 per kilo. I tell you what, you can ignore the $10 per kilo because that's in the past, isn't it? It's not a future cost. Now, we need to know whether they've got that in stock or not. They can scrap it for $4 per kilo. So that's one thing we'd lose. If we used 50 kilos, we'd lose that scrap value. So that's a relevant cost, losing the scrap value. Or we could use it at an extra cost of $2 per kilo as a substitute for material G, which costs $7 per kilo. Okay, and presumably we use material G a lot. So what's the relevant cost of using up this 50 kilograms of material B? Well, I've lost the scrap value. If I use 50 kilos, I'm not getting $4 per kilo scrap, am I? So I could be losing $200. But actually, by substituting it for G, I've lost a saving because G costs 7 kilos to purchase, but what I could do is just use B and change it for the cost of $2. So I'm saving $5 a kilo by having this material B, and I'm going to lose that by using it on my own project. So 5 times 50 is 250. So the relevant cost to me is the higher of those two. The relevant cost would be 250. Okay, don't worry if you think, oh, that's a bit trickier, Richard, than you said. It is, but we're going to do a couple more of them, so we'll be fine. Okay, as promised. We need 100 kilograms of material A this week. It's material A is material alpha. Alpha is regularly used in the company's main production, so it's regularly used. So therefore, I've got to buy more, haven't I? Currently, I've got 60 kilos held in stock, but it's always regularly used. I'm going to have to buy more anyway. I can ignore the $10 per kilo. That's in the past. The current market price, so the replacement cost, is $12 per kilo. So without any more said, what is the relevant cost of me using this 100 kilos? Hopefully, you can see it's 100 kilos times by 12. I can forget that it's in stock because it's regularly used. I'm going to have to replace that stock at $12 per kilo. But the exam question actually tried to trick you and said the price is expected to increase to 13 kilos next week. You can ignore that because that's next week. Cow needs it this week. Okay, so it's this week's figure that you would need. And so therefore the relevant cost is 100 kilos times by $12 per kilo, coming to $1,200. How are you feeling, folks? Are we all okay over there in the wild web? Right. If you do have any questions, do shout them out. Here to help. So let's get on with one of those tricky questions. We need 200 kilos of material B. We've got some in stock at a cost of $8 per kilo in the past. Forget the $8 per kilo. But I have got some in stock. If I've got it in stock and I use it, I lose the scrap value. It's not used for normal production, okay? So it's not regularly used. So all I'm going to lose is the scrap value, and I could scrap it for $2 a kilo. So if I used it instead of scrapping it, the relevant cost would be, hopefully you can see, that's 200 times by 2, which is 400. However, what I could do is substitute it for material G. So material G normally costs me $6 per kilo. But what I can do is use material B at an extra cost, look, of $1 per kilo. So what would you rather do? Would you rather go out and buy some more material G, which you use, for $6? Or would you say, no, actually, I'm going to rework material B? Because material B only costs me $1 per kilo to rework. So I'd be saving $5 per kilo. But if I use them all up, I'm not saving them. Okay, or we could sell it to a specialist recycler for $3.50. Right. Relevant cost, don't know what, I thought I'd put something else in there. Relevant cost being 1,000. Have I worked out all the 1,000 then? Have a quick look at that. How did I get to 1,000 relevant cost? I can just move myself out of the way for a second. So just leave it for you to have a good look. Why is the relevant cost 1,000? So I need 200. I could scrap it for $2. So that's 400. So that's no good. That's not the relevant cost. I could sell it on for 350. 350 times 200 is what, 700? That's not the relevant cost. So the relevant cost has to be something to do with material G. Material G normally costs me 6. Instead, I could use up some B for $1 kilo for cost. So I'm saving 5 kilos each time for $5 per kilo of using material B to turn it into G. And I wouldn't be able to do that if I just used material B up. So scrap value lost 400. And the rework saving loss was $6 minus 1 times by 200, which is 1,000. I didn't put in the specialist recycler because it didn't come to 1,000. Okay, all happy with that? So scrap value loss versus rework saving loss. Any questions? Super. Let's do one more with you. We need 50 units of material Z. We haven't got any in stock, and it costs us 30 to purchase externally. Well, the answer is easy so far then. I need 50 times by 30 per unit. But material O, which I've got 80 units is in stock, I can forget the $18 per unit because that's in the past. O has no scrap value, has no alternative use, but if modified at $7, it becomes a substitute for material Z. So I need 50 units. I've got 80 of these material O in stock that I'm not using. It's got no scrap value. So therefore, I would use that material O, but to use it, it's going to be modified at $7. So my replacement cost would be 30. My modifying O would be 7. And so therefore, my relevant cost would be 350 because that's what I would use, wouldn't it? I would use material 0 or O rather than go out and buy new stuff. I'd use material O, I'd modify it at $7. I want 50 kilos. The answer's 350, okay? I think I've got one more for you. No, I haven't. That's the end. Okay, so go through them all, stop the video and go through them all again. I've got plenty more on aCOWtancy.com where you can see them, but the whole point is that a relevant material is something that's future incremental cash flows, and the best way to revise it really is just to do the numbers, just do more and more examples, and it suddenly becomes good. Okay, so just leaves me to say thank you very much. Thanks for spending your lunchtime with me again, and I'm sure we'll see you on another Lunchtime Live. Take care, everyone.